What's up, everyone? Aaron and Bryce here from Ridge Runners Archery. Do you struggle from drawing your bow back? Or have shoulder pain? Well, don't worry, by the end of this video, we'll give you some simple tips and some tricks to help you draw your bow back properly and save your shoulder from injury. Let's get to it. All right, so a lot of you may be wondering why you should listen to us about how to properly draw your bow back. Well, after 24 years of bow hunting, a lot of mistakes, some trial and error, even a few injuries, we've been doing a lot of the research on the proper way to recruit the muscles to draw your bow back, and we just wanted to talk about the most common mistakes that we see most commonly with beginning archers who really don't know any better. It's just kind of how they learn to draw. And we wanted to get you an idea of what the best way to properly draw your bow back with the correct muscles. So first thing we'll go over here, I'll have Bryce turn around a little bit. We'll talk about the shoulder blade, the shoulder itself. So shoulder blade has 4 muscles that make up that rotator cuff. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that. Maybe you have had some rotator cuff injuries in the past. But there's 4 muscles here that are involved in the draw cycle, as well as this rear delt right in here, some lats, the rhomboids, and a little bit of that lower trap that are involved in there. And so, if Bryce were to spin around again here real quick and show us a draw, and we'll use one of these bands for an example. Here's the first most common one that we see. It's a bicep draw. So I think the most common thing that we see with this type of draw is those who are super strong, some strong athletes who just don't know any better. And so they start pulling down and they pull with their bicep. Don't really use any other muscles besides their bicep, maybe some of the rear delt in there. But problem with that is it can lead to this bicep tendonitis right in here. And then you're going to be looking at rehabbing that. Another problem with that is, so if you just draw back with your bicep, just like that, and then as you come up to get to your anchor point, that transition really puts this shoulder in kind of a vulnerable position where you might even have some patients who sublux that shoulder so it anteriorly comes forward, causing pain, and then they got to let down, and that's when you can get some of those small rotator cuff tears. And so again, a lot of this info that we're teaching, he used to be a personal trainer. I'm a physician assistant, so we've got some background in the medical field and training and stuff, but the research that we've done, including one guy that we've really looked to for some of his good research. He's a USA archery coach. He's on YouTube as Mountain Physio. You can look him up. He's got some really good info, really good videos. And so he's a physical therapist, so he knows what he's talking about. So that's one of the first things that we'll talk about. The next one is kind of an overdraw, kind of overextending yourself. So leaning way forward to try and pull that bow back. Now, you might say, well, that doesn't look so bad, but problems with this is, again, you can get some bicep tendonitis with an overdraw as well. I've noticed is I think I had an overdraw at one point, and I feel like that's one thing where you can get bicep tendonitis, sure, but then it also kind of puts your spine in a different position where you kind of have to get reset. So we'll show you the proper form here in a couple of minutes here, but so that's another one. Another one that maybe not a lot of people do, but it's something that is not allowed if you are professionally shooting, or I think even in target archery, they don't allow it. In tournaments. Yeah. It's called a sky draw. So it really draw way high and come down. So that's just not allowed. That's just, if you're a target archer, you just can't do that. So, and this, the one that we'll go over next after the sky draw is pretty similar to an overdraw. So this is the one that Bryce was even talking. This is kind of what he does, where he keeps this front arm static and he's really only pulling with that back bow arm, or the string arm, I guess, if you want to call it that. Kind of the same thing, again, the bicep tendonitis, but it's also something where, you know, everything that you want to do, you want to make sure that your shoulders are depressed the entire time. So if you want to spin around as you do it, you know, these shoulder blades are pretty amazing. They can do a lot of things. And so what you're looking for whenever you're drawing your bow, if you have somebody watching you, is when you're drawing that bow back, do it the proper way. So a little bit of, he did it really good. You can start, you don't have to start super high, but just a little bit of flex. You're kind of pushing that front arm out, pulling with these muscles. So go to the starting position again as you're going to be pulling. So when you start, this shoulder blade's kind of up, a little bit out here, but you still want that shoulder blade depressed. That's very good. So then pull back like you're supposed to. So it's traveling as he's pulling back. Now it's locked down. And so what you want to see, kind of what he's doing, shoulder blades are both depressed. Shoulder blade here, you can feel rear delts firing. All these rotator cuff muscles are there firing. And then you have those rhomboids and a little bit of the lower trap firing. You kind of want everything to be in line. So this looks really good that way. And so this is what I was going to talk about with these shoulder blades. You can just relax from the shooting position. These shoulder blades, they can elevate. You can elevate them up, depress them down, protract them forward, or retract them back. And so that retraction is what you want from that string arm, if you want to call it that one, the one that's drawing back. You want that one retracted, and you kind of want to push this one forward whenever you're, you know, at full draw. You want to push that one forward. If as you get tired, and this is something to work on, that can start to sink back, and you can kind of even feel that shoulder blade kind of hitting that spine. So thing that you got to work on, making sure you're pushing and pulling that way. All right, so now that we talked about, you know, the most common mistakes that we've seen and even gone through, I quickly showed a little bit of the proper draw, but I want him to demonstrate from a front view, and we'll spin him and do a side view as well. So again, we want him to not have a totally static front arm, maybe a little bit of bend, and then he's going to be pushing, pulling, kind of call this a kind of a high elbow draw. And so he's going to have that elbow nice and high as he's drawing. You don't want this elbow too high as you're drawing, so go through it again. But also he's keeping his shoulder blades depressed as he's doing it. Yep, good. Yep, so it wasn't directly in front of his eyes, it was just below his eyes as he was drawing. And he comes to his anchor, and he's now, let's spin you around and we'll show you as he draws. So you can see his shoulder blades are depressed as he's drawing. Shoulder comes back and down, locks in. He's pushing that front arm forward, makes it to his anchor point. And this is looking really, really good. So that's the proper way to draw the bow, using the proper muscles. So it's not like some of you maybe had some of these other issues that we talked about, the most common mistakes. It's not that you're not strong, it's just that you're not recruiting the right muscles to draw the bow. And so that's what we want you to do. We want you to save this shoulder so you can be bow hunting for years to come. And then in our next video, we're going to be giving you some exercises and some strengthening tips so you can increase your poundage. All right, so be on the lookout for that one. For us here at Ridge Runners Archery, we're out. See you on the next one.